It's often said the most important thing about any business is the people. But with the economic and corporate environment looking increasingly uncertain, is that about to change? Should today's workers look forward to a new age of flexible working, transferable skills and an end to the traditional office hierarchy? Or is the reality rather more gloomy? Well, joining me to discuss these issues in the third part of our Future of the Company series are Linda Grattan, Professor of Management Practice at the London Business School, and Vanessa Robinson, Head of the HR Practice at the Chartered Institute of Personnel and Development. Thank you both for coming in. Linda, if I could start with you. The subtitle of your book, The Shift, is The Future of Work is Already Here. What do you think life for the employee is going to be like in the coming years?
Well, I mean, it's going to be very different than it is now, and there's a couple of forces that are creating that difference. The one that we see the most, of course, is technology, which is actually replacing a lot of jobs. And also the jobs it doesn't replace, it's making them more difficult and more sophisticated. And secondly, globalization, both in terms of work moving offshore, but also China and India in particular really competing now with companies around the world in terms of services and products. So it's a big change.
Is the emphasis now more on the individual rather than perhaps, say, the manager to prepare for a very exciting new world?
Well, I mean, it's going to be exciting for some and not for others. I think that people have to understand the future, and then they also have to make their own individual preparations for it. I think that there's going to be huge structural changes, and we and our children need to prepare for those.
So the most skilled and highest achievers will perhaps be better placed to adapt and thrive. But what about ordinary workers doing more menial jobs? How will they approach things?
By the way, I think it's going to be very tough for the most skilled as well, because the most skilled used to simply compete in a country market, and now they compete in a global market. And if you think there's 1 billion Chinese and 1 billion Indians, some of whom are highly educated, then actually it's going to be tough for the skilled as well. But for those who have lower levels of skill, if you have a skill that can't be moved, so that would be you're a chef or you're a hairdresser or something that's actually location based, then there will always be demand for those skills. But if you have a skill that can be outsourced and can move into the global labour market, then you are against anybody else in the world who has the same set of skills. And I think that that's going to be particularly difficult actually for some of the Western economies to come to terms with.
Vanessa, if I could bring you in now, how do you see the relationship between employees and managers changing?
What we're seeing, particularly in our research at the CIPD, is that more and more business success, and particularly sustainable organisation success, is through a sort of different style of management and organisation. A lot more emphasis is being placed on values and shared purpose. And to actually deliver against that type of agenda, I think what you're actually needing is a lot more collaborative approach to thinking of your workforce and a lot more autonomy to the employees. So therefore, the relationship with managers needs to change. I'm not sure, to your point to Linda, whether it actually means a sort of removal of the management level, but what I think it means is that the managers start to play a very different role of sort of translating and connecting between the leaders and maybe the employees.
Just looking past the management theory for a moment, what practical steps can companies take to make sure that they're equipped for this changing new world?
We see a vital role actually for HR people in helping, great, you've got sort of London Business School and some of the education establishments actually really making sure people are sort of work ready, but actually for those people in the workplace, HR have a vital role to play, helping develop and build capability of the managers and for the workforce generally, but also I think actually looking at what the right culture would be for an organisation that is having to operate in an increasingly complex and changing world, where actually the ability to be really agile, to get onto the front foot, to sort of anticipate change, not to be scared of it, is going to be one that's more and more important. And I think HR can play a great role actually in just really, really looking at the culture and looking whether it's enough or what more is needed.
And finally, to you both, first Linda, to conclude, should we be excited by the opportunities of this changing new world or perhaps fearful?
I think we should be really exciting. I mean, in my book, The Shift, I said, for my children and others, it's a very exciting time, but people have to be, A, prepared to work hard, B, prepared to learn right the way through their lives. And finally, they have to be prepared to make some pretty hard choices.
And would you agree with that, Vanessa?
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. And I also think it's a time that actually people would just have to continually sort of look and change and adapt, because actually the pace of change, I think, is just going to keep on getting faster and faster. So that sort of just coping with and being excited about the fact that the world's moving quickly will be, a definite thing to watch out for.
Well, an optimistic note to end on. Thank you both indeed for coming in, Linda and Vanessa, and you can read plenty more about the future of the company at our special report. That's at ft.com/future of the company.